What happens when a DM creates the most overpowered poison in the game, specifically designed to kill one player's character, and that player turns it against the entire party. This is the story of Roghan the Red, a fighter, an assassin, and the man who ended an entire campaign with a single toast. This story takes place in the early 1980s, a D&D campaign running 1st edition a D&D, back when the game was still young and the players were even younger. Everyone at this table was in junior high, and they played the game the same way they lived their lives. Hard. These kids had a game called Flinch. You would make a sudden aggressive move toward someone. If they flinched, you got to hammer them in the chest with stiff fingers as hard as you wanted. If they held still, they got to do it to you instead. And that was considered a fun time. Now, to be fair, this was the early 80s. This is the generation that thought lawn darts were a toy. But even by those standards, this group sounds like they were training for some kind of nerdy fight club. At the gaming table, this attitude carried over. If you asked someone to pass the player's handbook, it was already in the air, aimed at your head. Nobody waited around during their turn because everyone was always formulating their next move. Fear, it turns out, is an excellent motivator. The group had a note-passing system with the DM for secret actions. Stealing, shopping, sneaking, notes flew constantly, and they had one rule that will become very important later. If your character died, the rest of the party looted your body, and then they burned your character sheet. No resurrections, no temple fees. You died, you stayed dead, and your stuff belonged to whoever was fastest. Burning character sheets. I want you to sit with that for a moment. In a game where people spent weeks building their characters, death meant watching your hard work go up in literal flames, while your friends divided your belongings like vultures. This is the context you need to understand what happens next. Our storyteller played a character named Roghan the Red. On paper, he was a human fighter/assassin, level 5 fighter, level 10 assassin, but nobody at the table knew about the assassin part. Roghan looked like every other meat shield. Plate mail, 1883 strength, a sword of sharpness and a bad attitude. He just happened to also be very, very good at killing people quietly. The thing about Roghan was that his player thought it was silly for assassins to walk around looking like assassins. That kind of defeated the purpose. So he played the character as a fighter who sometimes did assassin things when nobody was watching. Neutral evil on the character sheet, but practically neutral in behavior, aside from the occasional murder for hire, which, as he pointed out, was not that different from what adventurers did every Tuesday anyway. And honestly, he has a point. The average D&D party commits more war crimes before lunch than most video game villains manage in an entire campaign. The only difference is the alignment written on the sheet. The campaign was running the legendary module S3, Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, the one with the crashed spaceship, power armor and blaster pistols. Everyone was excited, but the DM had plans. First, he decided the module needed a bigger group, so he let every player create a second character. Every player except Roghan. Because Roghan was a 5th level fighter and a 10th level assassin, the DM counted that as level 15 and said he did not need another character. Everyone else got 2 characters at level 10 or higher. Roghan got nothing. That is not how multiclassing works in any edition of D&D, by the way. A fighter 5/assassin 10 is not the same as a level 15 character, but the DM was not interested in math. He was interested in making sure one player was outnumbered. Then came the moment that set everything in motion. The very first thing the DM said when everyone sat down was to point at Roghan and tell his cousin's paladin, quote, "He is evil," end quote. No detect evil ability used, no role-playing, no in-character reason whatsoever. The DM simply announced it. And just like that, the entire party, 12 characters strong, all turned against Roghan, not because of anything he had done, not because of anything suspicious, just because the DM decided to out his alignment for free. This is the moment the DM lost the campaign. He just did not know it yet, because by outing Roghan's alignment without cause, he accomplished 2 things. He made the player angry enough to want revenge, and he made sure that player had absolutely nothing left to lose. From that point on, the party treated Roghan like disposable equipment. They put him on point for every encounter. They made him tank every fight, and they refused to heal him. When he burned through his healing potions, they did not offer to share. He was on his own. During one section of the module, the party found an elevator operated by a keycard. The DM had everyone pile in through a door, and the doors closed before Roghan could follow. The party was gone, and Roghan was completely alone on an unexplored deck of a crashed alien spaceship. For the next hour of real time, The party explored rooms and fought encounters, while Roghan wandered alone. He survived 3 random encounters by himself with no healing support, and then he found something. While searching what appeared to be an alien laboratory, Roghan discovered several useful items: powders that granted infravision, mild poisons, jars of strong acid, and then the mother of all poisons. The DM described it as a sweet-smelling green powder. When Roghan tasted it, the DM informed him he needed to make a save versus poison at -10. The player rolled a natural 20. The DM then told him he had 3 hit points left. Let me repeat that: save versus poison at -10, and even if you make the save, you are left with 1d4 hit points. This poison was not a real module item. This was the DMU's creation, designed with one purpose: to permanently remove Roghan from the game. A -10 save is nearly impossible for most characters, and even if you somehow survive, you are one bad sneeze away from death. The DM wanted a guaranteed kill. What he got was the instrument of his own destruction. Roghan was furious, but he was smart. He pocketed as much of the poison as he could carry and switched to survival mode. Claiming low hit points, which was true, he stayed in the back with a bow and avoided melee for the rest of the module. The party played through the entire module over the course of a week of after-school sessions. The paladin got his power armor, the fighter got his blaster rifle and grenades, and during all of this Roghan was watching, waiting, and he made one critical move that nobody noticed. He pickpocketed the periapt of proof against poisons from one of the throwaway characters, replaced it with a gemstone of similar appearance. The DM barely raised an eyebrow. A periapt of proof against poisons does exactly what it sounds like. It protects you from poison. And now the only person at the table who had protection against the most lethal toxin in the campaign was the person everyone had been trying to kill. At the end of the module, the party gathered at an inn to split the treasure. The DM made a point of reminding everyone that in town, nobody wore armor or carried heavy weapons. Everyone was sitting around in casual clothes with nothing more dangerous than a dagger. Then the DMU's cousin's cleric arrived late with a bag of holding. Inside was every single item from Roghan's room: his sword of sharpness, his +3 plate mail, his bow, his magic arrows, all of it. The DM had decided that since Roghan stole from other players, it was only fair they got to raid his belongings. Only fair. The player who was outed without cause denied a second character, forced to tank without healing, separated from the party and given a death sentence poison. That player getting robbed of everything he owned was considered fair. Remember that word, it will come up again. Roghan's player did not argue. He asked the DM one simple question: was there time to buy wine for the party? The DM let him spend 500 gold on a cask of wine. Roghan paid the innkeeper's wife extra not to drink any of it when she poured it into jugs for the table. The party wrote notes about what they were bringing to the celebration. No surprises, no heavy weapons. They were just going to drink, divide up the loot, and have a good time at Roghan's expense. Roghan passed his note to the DM: 3 daggers, all magical, his +2 ring of protection, and his newly acquired periapt of proof against poisons. The wine was poured, a toast was raised, and everyone drank. Then the player stopped the game and said 6 words that ended the campaign. Everyone make a save against poison at -10. There was a moment of silence. Then the DM read the back of the note and realized what had just happened: the green powder, the nerve agent, in the wine. The paladin died, the cleric died, the ranger died, the druid died, the bard died, everyone died. The only survivors were the thief and one wizard, each clinging to life with 1d4 hit points. Then Roghan rolled his save. The DM looked smug, certain that a second natural 20 was impossible, but Roghan did not need a natural 20. He had the periapt, no negative modifier. He rolled an 11 and passed easily. Before anyone could react, he threw a poisoned dagger at the wizard. Dead. He jumped the thief. Dead. Every character at that table was gone. Think about what just happened. The DM created an impossible poison to remove one player. That player survived it, stole it, and used it to kill every single character in the campaign, including the DMU's own cousin's characters. This is not just revenge. This is poetic justice on a Shakespearean level. And the best part, he did it with a dagger, the weapon of an assassin, the class he had been hiding the entire time. Turns out it is pretty easy to kill people with a dagger when they only have 4 hit points. And then came the house rule, the one they had all agreed to, the one that had always been part of the game. If your character dies, the party loots the body, and then they burn the character sheet. Every single sheet. The other players did not like it, But as Roghan's player put it, that was how they rolled. He was never given his experience points for killing all those high-level characters, but I do not think that was the point. The DM had spent an entire campaign trying to destroy one player. He cheated, he played favorites, he designed weapons specifically to kill. And in the end, the only weapon that mattered was patience. Outro. Roghan the Red was not just a good assassin, he was a great assassin, and this was the very last time his player ever sat at that D-Muzz table. If you are enjoying these stories, check out the playlist for more. And remember, never hand your players a weapon you are not prepared to have used against you.